The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday at the Atacama Large Millimeter Array. Dr. Nisha Patil merely spilled her coffee when the pattern emerged from the background noise, a clear, mathematical sequence that could only be artificial. Within hours, every major radio telescope on Earth confirmed it. Humanity's first contact would not be a greeting, but a desperate plea for help. Commander Thela of the Ardaran science vessel Starlight Seeker watched Earth grow larger on the view screen, her four hearts beating rapidly with equal parts hope and fear. Behind her, the ship's crew worked in tense silence, monitoring the pursuit vectors of the Kronax fleet that had already claimed 3 Ardaran colony worlds. "The Council has rejected our appeal," First Officer Varn reported, his bioluminescent patches dimming with dismay. "They say interfering with the Kronax expansion would destabilize galactic power structures." Thela's outer membrane flickered with barely contained anger. The same council that praised Ardaran medical innovations, that benefited from their evolutionary engineering breakthroughs, now abandoned them to the Kronax Collective's systematic extinction campaign. "How long until we reach Earth orbit?" she asked. 4 hours, Commander. "The Kronax won't detect our trajectory for at least 12. The decision to seek help from Earth had sparked fierce debate among what remained of Ardaran leadership. Humans were centuries behind in technological development, had never achieved faster-than-light travel on their own, and spent an alarming amount of time fighting among themselves. But Thela had seen something in their transmissions that her peers missed, an incredible ability to adapt, to find solutions where none seemed possible. At the United Nations emergency session in New York, Fleet Admiral James Okonjo stood before the assembled representatives of Earth's nations. The chamber had been in session for 18 hours straight since the Ardaran message arrived. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "the physics and engineering teams have confirmed the Ardaran data. The Kronax Collective possesses technology far beyond our current capabilities. By all conventional military analysis, we cannot win this fight." He paused, letting the murmurs of concern ripple through the chamber. "However, the Arbarans chose to come to us for a reason. They've watched our broadcasts, studied our history. They see something in humanity that the other advanced civilizations have forgotten." On the massive screen behind him, footage from the Ardaran ship showed Kronax warships systematically destroying civilian habitats. The Kronax rely on technological superiority and rigid battle doctrine. They've never faced an opponent who thinks like we do. We have something they don't: the experience of being the underdog, of finding ways to win when outgunned and outnumbered. In orbit, Dr. Patil stood aboard the International Space Station, watching the Ardaran ship make its final approach. The vessel's organic curves and shimmering surface made human spacecraft look like crude industrial equipment in comparison. Yet when Commander Thela's image appeared on the communication screen, Nisha saw something heartbreakingly familiar in the alien's posture: the weight of responsibility for her people's survival. "On behalf of humanity," Nisha transmitted, following the carefully prepared protocol, "we accept your request for aid." Thela's translator converted her response. "Even knowing the Kronax's power, even knowing other advanced civilizations deemed this fight unwinnable." Nisha smiled. "Commander, humanity's greatest achievements have come from attempting the impossible. We've spent our entire history learning to overcome superior forces through innovation and determination. The Kronax may have better technology, but they've never faced humans before." Within days, shipyards around the world began retooling for war production. Ardaran engineers worked alongside human scientists, combining their biological technology with humanity's pragmatic combat solutions. The Kronax expected to find a primitive civilization. They would instead face an opponent unlike any they had encountered in their 1,000-year expansion. As Admiral Okonjo watched the first hybrid human Ardaran vessels take shape in the Brazilian shipyards, he thought about humanity's long history of resistance against overwhelming odds. The Kronax had made a critical mistake. They had given humanity someone to fight for, a clear moral purpose that united Earth's nations like never before. "They think we're primitive," he told his staff. watching workers install railguns onto an Arteran bioship. Let's show them what primitive can do. Under the harsh lights of Hangar 7 at the Vandenberg Space Center, Lieutenant Raj Kumar ran his hand along the strange fusion of human and Arteran technology. What had once been a conventional missile launcher now pulsed with bioorganic circuitry, its targeting systems enhanced by living computational tissue. 3 months of non-stop work had transformed Earth's military capabilities in ways that would have seemed impossible before first contact. The bio-enhanced projectiles are ready for testing, announced Dr. Yuki Tanaka, barely looking up from her tablet. Dark circles under her eyes testified to the endless hours she'd spent integrating Arteran biotechnology with human weapons systems. The living metal adapts to kinetic impact. The faster we fire them, the harder they hit. In orbit, Captain Isabella Rodriguez floated through the command center of the U.S. Defiant, Earth's first biohybrid warship. The vessel represented humanity's answer to superior alien technology, not trying to match the Kronax's energy weapons and shields, but creating something entirely new. "Status report," she called out, watching her crew work alongside their Arteran counterparts. The sight still amazed her, humans and aliens learning from each other, combining their strengths. "Bioreactor at 95% efficiency," reported Lieutenant Commander Marcus Banks from his station. "The ship's tissue is healing faster after each stress test. It's literally getting stronger as we train." The Arteran engineer, Cell, pulsed with approval. "Your species' approach to warfare is unprecedented. We would never have considered using living tissue as armor." "Sometimes the best defense is being too stubborn to die," Isabella replied with a grim smile. "Humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to adapt." At the lunar shipyards, Admiral Okonjo met with Commander Thiele to review the growing fleet. Through the observation window, they watched teams of workers applying the final touches to dozens of hybrid vessels. Each ship represented a different experiment in combining human and Arteran technology. "Your people work with incredible speed," Thiele observed, her bioluminescence flickering with amazement. "We expected the integration process to take years. We've had lots of practice building weapons quickly when our survival depends on it," Okonjo replied. "Though I admit, this is the first time we've built living ones." The tactical display showed the approaching Kronax fleet, over 300 ships strong, moving with the confidence of an undefeated force. They had conquered 12 species before targeting the Arterans, each victory following the same predictable pattern of overwhelming technological superiority. "They're maintaining standard attack formation," Thiele noted. "The Kronax never deviate from successful strategies. That's their weakness." Isabella's voice came through the comm system. "They've forgotten how to improvise. Every species they fought tried to match their technology level and failed. We're not going to play their game." In the depths of the Defiant, Raj supervised the loading of the latest weapon systems. The bio-enhanced railguns looked almost organic now, their barrels rippling with muscle-like tissue that would help accelerate projectiles to unprecedented velocities. Next to them, pods of smart minds pulsed quietly, their living cores waiting to be awakened. "To think," Cell said, watching the process. "A year ago, we would have considered this combination of technologies impossible, perhaps even forbidden." "Necessity breeds innovation," Raj replied, checking the bacterial batteries that powered the hybrid systems. "Humans have always been good at finding unusual solutions when our backs are against the wall." In the command center, Isabella reviewed the final battle plans with her tactical team. The strategies they'd developed violated every convention of space warfare the Kronax understood. Traditional formations had been abandoned in favor of something that looked more like organized chaos. "They'll expect us to fight like everyone else they've conquered," she explained to the assembled officers. "To try matching their technology, to follow the established rules of space combat. Instead, we're going to show them how humans fight when we're protecting our friends." The tactical display showed the first wave of Kronax scouts entering the outer solar system. Soon, they would discover that humanity had not only accepted the Ardaran's plea for help, but had created an entirely new form of warfare in response. All ships, battle stations, Admiral Okonjo's voice echoed through the fleet. This is what we've trained for. The Kronax think they're facing a primitive species learning to use borrowed technology. Let's show them what happens when humanity decides to rewrite the rules. As the hybrid fleet moved into position, Isabella felt the living ship respond to her crew's determination. The Defiant had evolved alongside them during training, adapting to human unpredictability in ways its Ardaran designers hadn't thought possible. They had created something entirely new, not just in technology, but in the willingness to break every convention of space warfare. All weapons systems online, Marcus reported. Bioreactors at full power. Kronax scouts will be in range in 30 minutes, Cell added. Isabella looked at her crew, human and Ardaran, working as one, each bringing their own strengths to the coming battle. Let's show the galaxy what happens when you back humanity into a corner, she said, and why that's always been a terrible mistake. The fleet moved out, ready to demonstrate that sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most advanced technology, but the one willing to try the impossible. The first shots of the war weren't energy beams or plasma torpedoes, but something the Kronax battle computers couldn't even categorize. The bio-enhanced railgun rounds, traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, tore through their advanced shields as if they weren't there. Physics was physics, after all, and no energy barrier could fully stop that much mass moving that fast. Direct hits on 3 Kronax scouts, Marcus reported, his voice steady despite the historical significance of the moment. Their shields, they didn't even attempt to adapt. They'd never encountered kinetic weapons of this magnitude in space. Isabella watched the tactical display as the Kronax scouts broke formation for the first time in recorded history. The hybrid fleet's opening salvo had just proven that humanity's primitive approach to space warfare could work. They're trying to regroup using standard protocols, Cell observed, their bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. But their formation algorithms aren't designed to handle this type of attack. In the command center of the Kronax lead vessel, Supreme Commander Vex Thor faced something unprecedented in their 1,000-year history of conquest: confusion. The primitive human vessels weren't following any known combat doctrine. Instead of maintaining formation, they moved like a swarm of insects, each ship seemingly acting independently while somehow maintaining coordinated attacks. Impossible, they growled, watching another scout ship shatter under the impact of weapons that shouldn't exist. These primitives were barely reaching their moon a century ago. How are they defeating our shields? On the U.S. Defiant, Raj's engineering team worked frantically to keep the bio-enhanced weapons systems synchronized. The living metal of the ship's hull pulsed and flexed, actively learning from each exchange of fire. The ship's tissue is adapting faster than projected, Dr. Tanaka reported, her fingers flying over her console. It's learning to anticipate enemy firing patterns and reinforcing vulnerable areas automatically. A Kronax energy beam struck the Defiant's port side. Instead of burning through, the living hull absorbed and redistributed the energy, actually growing stronger from the attack. It was everything they had hoped for in the hybrid design. Human tactical thinking combined with Ardaran biological adaptation. Launch the smart mines, Isabella ordered, watching the Kronax fleet's disorganized response to their initial attack. The biological weapons pods detached from the Earth ships, each containing thousands of microscopic robots enhanced with Ardaran neural tissue. They looked like debris to Kronax sensors until they started moving with purpose. Admiral Okonjo's voice came through the command channel. All ships, execute pattern Delta. Show them what organized chaos looks like. The Earth fleet broke apart, each ship moving in seemingly random patterns that somehow maintained perfect tactical coverage. It was a battle strategy based on swarm intelligence, something the Kronax rigid battle computers couldn't predict or counter. Their targeting systems are designed for traditional fleet formations, Cell explained, watching the Kronax ships waste energy trying to establish firing solutions. They can't adapt to individual ships all moving independently. The smart minds reached their targets, attaching to Kronax hulls. What looked like simple explosive devices began interfacing with the enemy ship systems, using Arteran biotechnology to disrupt their command and control networks. Across the Kronax fleet, systems began failing in ways their diagnostic programs couldn't understand. "They're trying to retreat," Marcus announced, monitoring the enemy movements. "Their standard tactical responses aren't working, and their command structure doesn't know how to handle it." Isabella allowed herself a small smile. "Pursuit course. Don't let them report back about our capabilities. The main Kronax fleet needs to stay ignorant of what they're really facing." The hybrid ships accelerated, their living hulls rippling as they pushed to speeds that should have torn normal vessels apart. The Kronax scouts, for the first time in their species' memory, found themselves being hunted by what they had dismissed as primitive prey. In lunar orbit, Commander Thela watched the battle's aftermath with her 4 hearts racing. In all our history, she transmitted to Admiral Okonjo, "No one has ever forced a Kronax fleet to retreat. Even their tactical withdrawals are precisely planned." This was fear. "That's because everyone else tried to beat them at their own game," Okonjo replied. "Humans have a long history of winning by changing the rules entirely." The captured Kronax scout ships would provide valuable intelligence, but the real victory was psychological. The advance force would never report back to the main fleet, leaving the Kronax leadership blind to the true nature of what they faced. "Begin Phase 2 preparations," Okonjo ordered. "The main Kronax fleet will arrive expecting to find primitive humans fumbling with borrowed technology. Instead, they're going to learn why underestimating humanity has always been a fatal mistake." On the Defiance Bridge, Isabella reviewed the battle data with her mixed human Arteran crew. The ship itself seemed to hum with satisfaction, its living systems having proven themselves in actual combat. "The Kronax aren't used to adapting during battle," she noted. "They perfect their strategies through simulation and planning, not real-time improvisation. That's going to be their downfall." Raj's voice came through the comm. "The bioweapons are evolving faster than expected. The ship's tissue is incorporating lessons from the battle into its cellular structure. We're literally getting stronger with every engagement." As the hybrid fleet regrouped, preparing for the inevitable arrival of the main Kronax armée, Isabella thought about the irony of the situation. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had dismissed humanity as too primitive to help the Arterans. Instead, it was precisely that primitive thinking, the willingness to try unconventional solutions, to adapt and improvise, that might save them all. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them to accelerate production of the hybrid ships. The real test is coming, and we need every advantage we can get." The first battle had been won, but it was just a prelude. The main Kronax fleet would arrive with 1,000 ships, expecting an easy conquest. They would find something else entirely, a young species that had turned its very primitiveness into a weapon the galaxy's most advanced civilizations never saw coming. The main Kronax fleet emerged from hyperspace like a metal storm, 1,000 ships strong, their formation perfect and threatening in its precision. Supreme Overlord Vex Dominion studied the tactical display with the confidence of one who had overseen a dozen species subjugation. The loss of their scout fleet was concerning, but surely no primitive civilization could stand against the full might of the collective. That confidence lasted exactly 6 minutes. The first sign that this battle would be different came when their long-range sensors detected no enemy fleet waiting in traditional defense positions. Instead, their scanners showed thousands of small objects scattered throughout the solar system's asteroid belt, space debris, according to their computers. Multiple anomalies detected, the Kronax sensor officer reported, their cybernetic implants pulsing with confusion. The humans appear to have modified the asteroids. Before Vex Dominion could process this information, the debris field came alive. What their sensors had dismissed as random rocks revealed themselves as camouflaged hybrid ships and weapons platforms. The entire asteroid belt had been turned into one massive ambush zone. Aboard the U.S. Defiant, now serving as the command ship for the Earth Arteran fleet, Captain Isabella Rodriguez gave the order they'd spent months preparing for. Execute Operation Hornet's Nest. The modified asteroids, their surfaces covered in living tissue that had mimicked space rock, began to move. Hundreds of human Arteran hybrid ships emerged from hiding places the Kronax battle computers had classified as natural formations. The trap was sprung. They're trying to enter standard combat formation, Marcus reported, watching the Kronax fleet's response. Just as predicted, they're falling back on established protocols. Launch the viral swarms, Isabella ordered. Dr. Tanaka's latest creation deployed from launch tubes across the hybrid fleet. Microscopic robots, enhanced with Arteran biological components, streamed toward the Kronax ships in clouds too small for their point defense systems to target. These weren't simple attacking machines. They were evolution weaponized. The viral swarms are penetrating their hull seams, Raj reported from engineering. Beginning Phase 1 molecular reconstruction. The Kronax discovered too late that their enemy had learned from every previous encounter. The viral swarms didn't try to destroy their ships directly. Instead, they began changing them. Living metal spread through their systems like an infection, transforming their rigid technology into something organic, unpredictable, alive. Vex Dominion watched in horror as ship after ship in their fleet began behaving erratically. Weapons fired without commands. Navigation systems developed what could only be described as opinions about their ordered course. Impossible, they rage. These primitives. They've turned our own ships against us. Admiral Okonjo's voice broadcasted across all frequencies. You thought technology alone made you superior, but humanity's greatest strength has never been our tools. It's our ability to imagine new ways to use them. The hybrid fleet struck from all directions at once, their living ships moving with an organic fluidity that made targeting them nearly impossible. Railguns fired projectiles that changed direction mid-flight, guided by bioengineered targeting systems. Space itself seemed to come alive with human ingenuity merged with Arteran biotechnology. Their command and control network is fragmenting, Cell reported, their bioluminescence flickering with excitement. The viral swarms have infected their quantum communication arrays. They can't coordinate their forces anymore. Isabella watched as the mighty Kronax armada began to break apart. Their rigid hierarchy, so dependent on perfect communication and programmed responses, was falling apart in the face of an enemy that refused to fight according to the established rules of space warfare. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. Show them why you should never corner a species that evolved as persistence hunters. The hybrid ships accelerated, their living hulls pulsing with transmitted energy. What looked like retreat was actually the setup for humanity's oldest hunting technique, wearing down stronger prey through relentless pursuit. The Kronax ships, their systems compromised by the viral swarms, couldn't maintain their energy-intensive shield systems indefinitely. They're trying to regroup near Saturn's rings, Marcus reported, right where we want them. Isabella smiled. Activate the ring processors. Months of preparation paid off as Saturn's rings revealed their secret. Hidden among the ice and rock were millions of tiny biocomputers, each one a node in the largest tactical processing network ever created. The rings themselves became a weapon, analyzing and predicting Kronax movements faster than their battle computers could react. Their ships are losing power, Raj announced. The viral swarms have reached their core systems. They're evolving faster than the Kronax can adapt their countermeasures. Commander Thela, watching from the Auxiliary Command Center, transmitted to all ships. This is beyond anything we imagined when we came to Earth. You haven't just matched the Kronax. You've completely changed the nature of space warfare. The battle raged across the solar system, but it was no longer a contest between technological superiority and primitive defiance. Humanity had created something entirely new, a form of combat that merged biological adaptation with tactical improvisation. The Kronax found themselves fighting an enemy that grew stronger with every engagement, that turned their own technological superiority into a weakness. As the last Kronax dreadnought fell silent, its systems transformed by the viral swarms into something closer to a living organism than a warship, Isabella looked at her mixed human-Arteran crew with pride. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them that humanity's first major space battle is also going to be remembered as the day the galaxy learned why you should never underestimate a species that thinks impossible is just a challenge." The defeat of the Kronax main fleet would reshape galactic politics forever, but more importantly, it would stand as proof that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't advanced technology. It's the ability to imagine new ways to use it. 1 year after the Battle of Saturn, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. Where once only the most technologically advanced species held seats, now representatives from developing civilizations filled the chamber. At the center of this transformation stood the newly formed Human-Arteran Alliance, a partnership that had rewritten the rules of galactic society. Admiral Okanjo stood before the council, his dress uniform adorned with both human and Arteran honors. Beside him, Captain Isabella Rodriguez and Commander Thela represented the integrated fleet that had changed everything. The images projected behind them showed the latest breakthrough, a new class of exploration vessels that merged human innovation with Arteran biotechnology. The defeat of the Kronax Collective wasn't just a military victory. Okanjo addressed the assembly. It was proof that advancement doesn't always follow a linear path. While you measured civilization by technological achievement alone, you missed something crucial about evolution. Sometimes the most powerful adaptation is the ability to think differently. In Earth orbit, the massive bioengineering facilities that had once produced weapons of war now focused on peaceful applications. Dr. Tanaka and Raj supervised teams of human and alien scientists, applying the lessons learned during the conflict to solve problems that had plagued advanced civilizations for millennia. The viral swarms that once transformed Kronax warships now helped clean space debris, Raj explained to a group of visiting dignitaries. The living metal we developed for armor now forms the basis of self-repairing habitats. War taught us creation, and creation is teaching us peace. The Arteran homeworld, once threatened with extinction, had become a symbol of Renaissance. The floating cities now hosted universities where humans taught their unique approach to problem-solving alongside Arteran biological expertise. The synthesis of these different ways of thinking had sparked a new age of innovation. We were so focused on advancing along our predetermined path, Cell reflected, watching students from a dozen species collaborate on a new project. We never considered that true evolution might mean breaking from that path entirely. In what remained of the Kronax Collective, change came more slowly but just as profoundly. The viral swarms had done more than defeat their fleet. They had transformed Kronax technology into hybrid living systems that forced a complete revaluation of their society. Former Supreme Overlord Vex Dominion, now serving as their representative to the Alliance, had admitted that defeat by humans had taught them more than 1,000 years of victory. "You showed us that strength lies not in perfecting one way of doing things," they told Isabella during a diplomatic function, "but in being able to imagine entirely new ways." The greatest change, however, was in how the galaxy's civilizations interacted. The Human-Arteran Alliance had proven that technological disparity didn't mean certain species had nothing to offer. Young civilizations brought fresh perspectives, new ways of approaching ancient problems. The council chambers now buzzed with voices offering solutions that would never have been considered under the old hierarchy. "We're recording unprecedented rates of technological and social advancement," Dr. Tanaka reported to the Alliance Board. "It turns out diversity of thought is as powerful as diversity in biology. Every species brings something unique to the equation." Captain Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, often reflected on how it all began, with a desperate plea for help that advanced civilizations had ignored. Humanity's response had not only saved the Arterans, but had fundamentally changed galactic civilization's understanding of progress. The Kronax thought they could predict everything we would do because they measured advancement in simple technological terms. She explained to a class of mixed-species cadets at the New Alliance Academy. They forgot that evolution isn't just about developing better tools. It's about developing better ways to think about using those tools. In the research centers scattered across the solar system, human scientists worked alongside aliens, combining Earth's talent for unconventional solutions with the advanced knowledge of other species. The viral swarms had evolved into medical nanites that could cure previously untreatable diseases. The living metal now formed the basis of ships that could adapt to any environment. Admiral Okonjo concluded his address to the Council with words that would be remembered for generations. The true measure of civilization has never been how advanced your technology is, but how you choose to use it. Humanity didn't win because we were stronger or more advanced. We won because we dared to imagine different possibilities, and now we invite all species to imagine with us. As the chamber erupted in approval, Commander Thela turned to Isabella with all four hearts pulsing in harmony. When we first came to Earth, we hoped you might help us survive. Instead, you helped the entire galaxy evolve. The legacy of humanity's first interstellar war wasn't counted in victories or defeats, but in the transformation it sparked. The galaxy had learned that true advancement meant more than moving forward along a predetermined path. Sometimes it meant having the courage to forge entirely new paths together. In Earth's shipyards, the next generation of hybrid vessels took shape, each one a testament to what could be achieved when different species combined their strengths. They were no longer weapons of war but tools of exploration. Their living hulls adapted to carry the combined knowledge and creativity of multiple civilizations into the unknown. The stars waited, holding new challenges and mysteries. But now, thanks to humanity's unconventional thinking and the trust of one peaceful species, the galaxy faced those challenges not as separate civilizations ranked by technological achievement, but as a diverse coalition ready to imagine new possibilities together.